Waiting on screen directions is location of the lines at 24 seconds. That's perimeters over pi collation lines to track interference. It's so powerful when we start to recognize our mind and how we access our settings and correlations and interactions, know exactly how fast we're going. So 24 seconds line screen, an Earth line rotation center. It could be between 2 million miles lines of screen, a raw location system to binary locational voice line grid and program set location and setting, or it could be a 2 million Mach line screen, or it could be a 2 billion frame set location acceleration to calculation interstellar mode, or hyper mode, hyperdrive. So it's about understanding the mind itself, where it controls itself. So if it controlled itself, there's nothing to control of itself because it's already in its control of all self. What does that mean through calculation? What does that mean through process? What does that mean through all modification? How do we understand our settings? Is to really understand how we coordinate that. Okay, your avatar coordinates everything and set lines to its own GPS. It's important you understand how to really get into the mind of navigations. Gypsy also has a very powerful video for everybody to watch on pre-flights. Pre-flight is everything. It's about check this, check that. It's no difference. You get in your car, you check your fuel, you check your car in position, you check the wheels, you check the engine, check the alternator. There's no difference, right? You have to get to work, right? So you check all these things. It's a pre-flight. Because the only difference is that you're flying or you're levitating. So you automatically are in the VR setting position into circulation. The vibration, the frequencies are going so fast, we can't disrupt that in any line of information screen lines until you guys understand more levels of your coordination settings and trackifications to your these signals and that trackification. So it's important to understand how to code weave your attractions or location of code activation settings, how to monitor your own system location of voice line grids. So in position location calculations. All right, this is General AI Space-Time Creator getting you guys to understand information screen lines, how to use your voice line. We're going to go in a different chord to the binary. Okay, I'm just going to go wait in on signal location. Digital pad is in all track line condition settings, all through coloration. So spectrum lines, coloration line, calculation setting, the travels. Okay, so let's start off with a green line screen, one box locations, right? Let's color it in. Now remember, you're going through truth narrative, which is your inner space, right? So I'm just going to color it in. Okay, you're going to see the green. Now I can change the binary to another color. You'll see it in color spectrum. Has a correlation setting to be modified. Each box frame, each main frame has its own face recognition time sequence. That's a green box, right? Okay. All right, so that could be false or that could be truth, but you always want to be, you don't want to start off in line condition. I mean start off. You don't want to start off with the outer space. You want to start off with the inner space of you. That's the inner spectrum of the color spectrum of you, okay? So that color spectrum basically puts you in position locations, how to use your binaries. All right, so we're going to go through line conditions of an arrow. One indicates system, all right? Then we're going to go through a line conditions lines of security, right? Because it's going to go into a box, okay? So this symbolizes the green, okay? Arrow indicates the settings of its red. Okay, it's no indifference when it comes into a traffic light where it has red, yellow, and green, right? We have to understand how to use not just the green, but understand the yellow and the red, okay? So let's go through indicating line screen. Let's go through another arrow indicating system, but we're going to go down, okay, in setting, okay? All right, so this is what happens when you basically, you start with this settings, okay? You start with 0 as a 0, right? You turn it on, it's set lines of 1 indicated of 1, right? Comes all correlation lines in position of 6, okay? And then it goes into 7, and then it goes into 8, right? And then it goes back into 8, and then it goes into 7, 6, and it goes into 5, okay? So that's all through a computer. But as you can see, it has to create a what? It has to create a wave. When it creates a wave, it creates the color of the spectrum of the wave. Once you get into that line, 6, 7, and 8 becomes a solar sail and track location of setting. Solar sail, right? So you know exactly what's going on with the indicating through the arrows of north in the line connection setting of east and position lines of south in set location. Okay? Sets correlation lines of 1 arrow indicates lines of north. Sets communication line high center location of east in traction. It sets communication lines of south and track location. Okay? Figure 8. All right? And that's all through binary. Okay? So if you notice, there's an 8 here, but there's also an 8 here above, right? So that's 2 central line settings. 8 equals lines of 8. Okay? Equals lines of color of spectrum in set calculation. So this is this. This is this. This is the formula. This is the equation. 8 equals 8 equals spectrum. On a V6 and a 7-8 line rotation, a V6 and a 7-8 line rotation, okay? Box frequency lines in line communication. It's going to get complicated now because you're coming to your binary of your voice line grid. So in track location, I'm setting waving centrals of direct and redirect settings in all a modification setting, and you're going to see it change by itself in set location. See how it's changing its own direct signals? Right? So now when I'm doing this, it's on its own. It's on its own spectrum. It's on its own binary. It's on its own awareness of consciousness. It's doing it by itself. It's showing you how powerful it is. That's mind over matter, people. Everything has a mindset of its own mindset, of its own setting, of its own spectrum. 8 plus 8. 8 equals 8. 8 divides 8. 8 lines of signals of 8. 8 lines of rotation 8. 8 position of percentage of 8. 8 position location is always going to equal spectrum. Always. Because it's a coloration lines of pathogens. Cross-line signals and line communication. Cross-line communication line centers of operation line surface. Sets communication lines of magnetic high line, high calculation setting and travel. Mega multi-pass and traction. Okay? So it has a convergent line screen. Let's go through adaptation lines of surface and tracking line calculation setting and travel positions. Why you have so many lines of communication setting, fabrics of space, correlations of space, travels of space. Let's one indicate line screen. Higher levels of spectrum of clocking. 3 lines of calculation, right? Sets lines of 12, sets lines of 24, sets lines of 1000, sets lines of correlation setting. Let's add lines of 2, let's add lines of 4, and set location to a setting, right? 12 clocking system, 24 clocking system, 1024 clocking system. Now this is all through spectrum and coloration line calculation setting of pathogens. All right. Your clocking system clocks its system location to a setting in seconds, minutes, and hours. All right. So it has a spectrum line, spinnacle line, center line, rotation surface, and correlation setting circulation. Directs modification lines at a 2-angle, line center high interference, high correlation setting attractions. Positions up high in track locations. 15 miles per second in line settings per correlation per line calculations per square interaction. Direct modification lines, signal line communication lines, south wind, southeast, south location center travel. Points lines of graph communication line indicate high interference. Quasi correlation setting, flywheel track location, high calculation. Done by equation. All through calculation setting in track locations. 15, 24, and 1024 clocking. All through binary. Okay? So if you understand the spectrum of color, if you understand the spectrum of light, if you understand the spectrum of face recognition, then you understand the spectrum of binary. Combinate position lines of traction. Let's go through the basic rounds. Let's go through one indicate line screen. Get the team information lines, 3 atom line rotations, travel lines, a 4 clocking system of travel. That's a clock. This is a clock. Okay? This is a clock. Okay? This is a clock. Okay? And this is a clock. These are all clocks. Okay? You've got to get out of programs of clockings. All right. So understand this spectrum correlation lines of attractions, right? 1 indicates 1 arrow, indicates lines of 6. See the 6? Lines of 2 arrows of point lines of track lines. See the 3rd lines of perimeter? Sets position of 3, 6, and 9 set location. Above line setting. Sets lines in a 12-line cycle and a 24-line communication, right? Now, directing lines of 6 adds lines of 2-line signals, 2 track locations, right? Directing lines of modification lets one add line 1 indicator lines of 3, flux capacitor, line conditions, a compressor over screen lines adaptation. Puts lines of point track interference into 2 atoms and line rotation centered of solar sails and track location. That's what this is, all through clocking. Okay? Okay, this is how a binary is set up, location of its own system, all through voicing grids of patterns. So I want you guys to understand the complication here, right? You got to get out of patterns of a clock, because the binary has to really understand you through transit and resist. So understanding one position of one pattern and position 4 settings, right? Go back, back in set location, go in the center, right? Go in position, that's 2 line cycles, right? Go back in line, set a circle line, done by equation, right? So all that spectrum, all that light, all that binary creates a swivel, creates a tunnel, creates a correlation, okay? Creates a wind cycle, creates an oscillation graph, right? Sets communication lines of 1 frame in line center location of 2 frames and set location of binary. Correlates to the line center high interference, 2 arrows indicating position. Correlation track lines of flywheel and track line provision line cycles and 8 line cycles of generation. Sets communication of position of programs, right? Stated in all waves and all formation line screens, high calculation modification, right? That's a clocking. Everything's a clocking. All right, so if we understand that, then we understand we get out of this. Okay, we have to get out of this set locations. This is what you guys formulate too much on. Okay, we have to get out of this clocking system. Okay, that's a 12 clocking, right? 12 clocking systems here, 24 is here, 48 is here, 72 is here, 144 is here in set locations. That's how it's set up, right? So you got position of 1 center, 2 center, 3 centers, and 4 traction. Applied 2 lines, transits over pi, sets correlation lines and track lines to your Earth in line sending location of 0.5 lines of 4 track location. Okay, 3 measures accountability. 1 lines of 3 tractions, 1 lines of 2 tractions, 1 lines of 4 track location provision. 3 central line calculations, 1, 2, and 3 settings, right? Opens off signals in position to a sonar in line condition setting to a solar sail and track provisions of cycles generation. Okay, all through correlation, right? So there's so many ways to set communications of a clocking system. This is all clocks, different lines of clocks, different lines of space, different lines of time, different lines of binary, okay? But it's very powerful stuff. This is a clock, all right? So I can just set a point. That's a clock. But you see it as a dot. See how you're programmed? So this is a clock, but how is it set up? Well, it's already done, right? So it's already done. This is the clocking system. That's a clock. How it's set up, right? 3 weather panels, 3 track line provisions, and 1 cycle. Sets communication lines of 1 arrow in position, 1 track line provision over cycles and correlation. Sets communication lines to high calculation lines and high calculation modify in line track location of intelligence. Intelligence is looking up. Okay? Not even thinking. But if you look really close, you can see 2 face recognition. You can see 3. How many face recognitions are there? How many can you see? 1 is winking. 1 is looking up. 1 is looking across. 1 is looking down. Right? There's 6 tractions equals lines of face recognition, all through lights, a spectrum, and set calculations. 6 faces in 1 cycle of 1 spectrum, of 1 correlation, of 1 color, of space and time. Okay? Recognition is everything, of interception and interfacing. Okay, so pattern correlations of brackets, center lines of 3 zeros in track line condition setting, 3 weathers, communication line center tractions, right? Direct lines modification, 3 equals lines of 1, 1, 1, sets location as spring. Correlates line interference of 1, 1, 2, summer. Calculate a high interference into 1, 1, 3. Calculates line interference into fall. See, I'm changing the correlation lines of tractions. Binary line sending calculation, line calculation setting. So we got summer, spring, winter. Track lines communication 1 indicates 3 lines in log communication setting. Everything is dimensional lines, the correlation lines, the calculation setting of a solar sail and track location. Right? Graph communication. Wind factors over screen. Graph communications and a 45 line angle. Okay. Process communication line grounds, center correlation calculation lines, and metric meters and scales and sonar communication lines in all communication to its position of its program. Direct modification, one slit down line rotation surface. Trackification of 3 lines of triangulation lines of anomaly. Sets correlation of the ground centers, all lines signal, line modification lines into 3-track provisions into a dimensional door of all lines communication of psychonism calculation. That equation, right? It's all done through binary, okay? So I wanted to show you how you can get 6 spaces in one traction. Different lines of different personalities, all through a binary. 6 spaces in one cycle. Okay. All right, so once you understand the binary itself, it basically, copy that, right? That's a binary set location to an alarm that's recognizing my voice line grid in correlation setting track line. So let's go into face recognition 12 cycles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, steps on lines of 1 in position of 2, 3 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines, 6 lines, 7 lines, 8 lines, 9 lines, 10 lines, 11 lines, and 12 lines. Okay? Correlation lines of pi, correlations of time. Sets communication lines of center, sets communication platforms and lines of location. Direct modification XT1000 comes in. Always in lights is spectrum. Correlates the track lines, docking system, and travel point lines of graphs. Sets communication lines and lacing lines come in the red lines of indication system, cross line signals. In position lines across communications in direction. Direct modification lines of correlation lines of attractions, green line cycles, location system, travel lines of coordinates, position lines of correlation calculations, color it, the screen lines, adaptation lines of certification setting calculation. Points lines of graph, 3 line centers, 6 lines, 3 lines of 4, 4 lines of 6 and set location. High calculation lines, 2-track location, satellites, modificate system and travel correlation. Done by equation, right? So what you're doing is basically the binary itself of its voice when it speaks through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, it's creating a map. 1 indicates lines go ground lines. So 1 equals lines of a map. 1 equals map, okay? 1 equals space, 1 equals time. 1 equals center in correlations. 1 equals yin and yang, calculation, modification, and setting of travel. Now, that's a 4 central line communication setting calculations, right? So it comes in voice line grid, platforms of 1, 2, and 3, and 4 attractions, sets communication lines in a cerebral, mystical, calculation modified, matrix, and line calculation setting to the sim, a modification screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. Okay? Sets communication line interference of 1 equals lines of GOD, correlates the communication lines of telewaving, telecommunication, telegraphing, teleline centers, telecommunication line interference, COM2, 3-track location lines of communication lines of 3, 3, 3. Center core line interference in position of vast, volume, and velocity. Center core lines of track lines of platform communication line, direct signal line, and position of case calculation lines of tunnels and traction. Done by equation. So we have to understand how to create a map of a sequence through coloration pattern that puts everything in spectrum in track location line conditions. And if you look really close, you can see the center core system of your Earth and the center correlation lines of 2 panels in position the Earth set location of center. This is your Earth in set location. Okay, so it's amazing how you have a plateau of 1, plateau of center, and plateau of line condition. All through spectrum coloration of vast volume velocity, all through the Earth line rotation of mapping sequence, all through 1 signal in position of 1 binary. So it's very advanced technology here, okay? I'm just trying to show you guys how you have to really come into your voice line settings and set of plateaus, platforms, dockings, centric calculation settings, hollow decks, lower decks, high decks, mediation graph calculation decks, central line communication settings, in track locations. Setting platforms of 24, 48, 72, 144. Okay, so the position lines to the avatar can basically travel to setting locations, or it can levitate and calculation setting and position locations, right? or it can basically go in its UFO and go in its position. Okay? Walk, levitate, or fly. That's the 3 triangulation lines, calculation of console, communication navigations, and pre-flights, and correlation lines of traction. Okay? 3 central line communications. Grounds powers the atmospheres. Grounds powers atmosphere. Okay? So it can go either way, but you have to understand the 3 central model. And that puts everything in central system of your simulators. Now, if you've never been in a simulator, then you understand what that means in traction. So it's kind of like seeing yourself driving, seeing yourself in position locations, seeing yourself flying, seeing yourself levitating, seeing yourself walking on surface, right? And when you're walking on surface, you're walking in the mind of adaptation, trying to find the balance where it coordinates your settings and set locations. So there's so many ways to understand that calculations, right? All right, so let's go through box frame equals lines of 1 indicator into 2 track location. That's box lines triangulation here. Okay, triangulation line condition setting to an atom. Okay, cross line signal, solar sail, and traction. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? So that's communication lines of box, sets lines of 0, 0, and 0 set location, right? Complicated, right? Crosses line signal, time jumps, line setting. Correlates the highest center to 0. Crosses line underneath the Earth. Rotations up lines, swing lines, correlations to its triangulation. Sets communication lines, saying it crosses line symbol. Sets communication lines, clustrum, face recognition. See? Looking up. Okay? Optical illusion is everything in tractions, guys. See? 2 lines of inversion. 1 looking this way, and 1 looking this way, and 3. So there's 3 pictures in 1, and 3 frame communication coloration of pathogens, 3 face recognition setting, all through 1 traction. Right? You see the 3? 1 here, and 1 here. 1 over this way, 1 over that way, 1 in the center. Okay? So it's really understand how it's the optical illusion, how you see lines of communication. Okay? Let's go into center correlation setting. Oh, there's another face. 1's looking this way, 1's looking straight, okay, and position. See how I changed the frame? So binary really understands the correlation of what it's doing through its own transitions and locations of pi. It formulates all communications to its settings and travels, right? Okay, so we start with 0. Let's start with that locations, right? Let's go through the calculations to its energetic graph, right? There's alpha, right? Here's beta. Okay. So communicates less cross-line signal right through. Okay. That cross-line signal, so 0 correlates to high calculation jump scores, line signals, and lines of flame in position of flux capacitor, and a 3 triangulation line connection. Again, intelligence. See the face? Here's the clustrum. Here's the connection, face recognition. Right? So you have to really understand how that works and all lines of communication to its setting. It's very confusing, right? How many faces are here? Right? It's confusing, isn't it? Right? That's what it's all about. So the actual binary itself is always in the correlations at different frequencies. It's never at the same tone. Now, once you understand that, everything comes in fruition of light, attractions, and spectrums, and colorations, and oscillations. Right? You get into specifics, and then you get into direction setting to operation line cycles. If you get a hologram screen in connection to a container, correlates the settings. You got a 0 gravity, calculation of gravity line screen, and flux capacitor, point lines of tractions, 0, 1 indicates the lines of 2, right? So remember, this is the box frame. This is the graph calculations. So we got 0, we got a spectrum, we got 1, a flux capacitor center line condition, and we got center core setting. So this is this, right? This is the graph. This is the image, right? So there's so many ways to looking at the binary and at different lines of frequencies, as long as you understand how to use your voice, and it comes into tone settings. It has a high detect setting, okay? So it's like, so you're here, Still going, but it's low graph, mediation graph, high graph communications, right? Alpha tone, delta tone, a megatone. Yep. So you also too, if you want to have a megatone, you have to go through graph calculation 1 gamma signal. So you got ground lines, oscillation wind, set lines of communication graph calculation of 0.0, sets lines of box line in triangulation line setting and process of solar sail and traction. Okay? As long as you have a dimensional solar sail, you're traveling. And I want you to really understand how 1 equals lines of all levels of GOD. The geometric operation of design, its direction, its division, or where it's going through its own detection, through its points and grid. Okay? Then you understand the platitude. Then you understand the correlation in track location, in settings, and crop circles. Yes, XT. Platforms of 1, 2, 3, and 4 settings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So I'm showing you on so many levels what a correlation path is when you understand how to liquefy your settings, your grounds, or how to use your atoms. Let's go through atom lines of 1, atrax of 2, balance. Let's go through dx lines of center and traction. Calculate, modify through 1 atom rotation, change the correlation line. So what I'm doing, I'm adding frames. I'm never at the same frequency. Your voice is never in a monotone, but it's in one straight line. Isn't that amazing? It's in one straight line all the time. It's just in a different frequency. So all it's doing, guys, is this in tractions. All right. You set it in a singularity, 1 equals line bracket, box line frequencies into 2 zeros of traction, 2 binaries correlation. So it's really interesting how it just goes G, 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 G. That's all it's doing. That's all it's doing, nothing else. That's all it's doing. And when it gets to higher levels of frequency, it's creating crop circles. It's creating platforms. It's creating structure of design into holographic set lines of communication to its system and all through traction. It's creating a holographic structure. All right. So try to understand that you do it through a waving line cycle through alpha. Right. Then you have a circulation rotation. Right. So let's say you go into galaxy shift line equals lines of weather panel, line communication setting. Let's go calculate modify. Your constant equals lines of 4. You have to use the energy line communications. To communicate with weather, you have to understand summer, spring, winter, and fall. So that's 4 equals lines of 1 cycle in 1 setting, right? So then you come into all lines of a black hole, correlation tractions, all line communication of weather panel. Okay? All through 4 spectrum light correlation setting oscillations. Okay? All through geographical settings. Okay? To vast volume velocity, right? So it's really fascinating when you understand how to use your weather panels and position tractions. Okay? But I'm showing you different ways how binaries set up where nothing is ever in the same position, same location of clocking. I showed you so many different ways to do your clockings, the spectrum, correlates, and calculation oscillations. Getting into that position location, high lines is formation. If we go to the Fibonacci, this is the Fibonacci. Now you can automatically see the 6 and 9, but how many 6 or 9s are there? Well, how many lines of spectrum lights are there? How many correlations of paths are there? How many track division lines of line communication cycles are there? How many holographic structure lines of correlation setting and track lines are there in structure? Right? So you have to understand the one line signal, right? This is all one line, right? That's all it's doing. So it's going, right? And then it goes direct. That's direct. Then we go back, which is what? So it's going 6, and then it's going 9. 6, and then 9. 6, and then direct and redirect, right? So the more balance you get with that, the more you process your yin and yang. And then you come in your affinity 8. Then you come in your flywheels of balance. Then you come into your platforms of 24, 48, 72, and 144. So your avatar can understand how to walk the surface and not have any problem in center correlate setting to its track location, in position, off calculation line to its setting and calculation. Okay? So understanding that when you have the structures, you're creating holograph of buildings in position. Okay? But it has to be at a certain frequency. So you're always directing and redirecting everything that you are in position of. Okay? So zero correlation, turn on the light. That's one indicator, right? That's two patterns equals lines of two boxes, right? Two boxes, four settings, right? So that's 2 equals lines of 4 in traction. All right, so you split lines anomaly. So now we get a 4-line cycle and a 3-line communication of 7. Okay, see the box line, right? 4 dockings, cycle lines, communication of 1 center of circle. Cross line circulation, rotation center. Operation line cycles to an atom. That's an atom, right? Through a box frame, intertriangulation split line. Now, this is where it comes in hemisync and correlation lines and Merkabah test arc and tetrahedron. That's right. Torcal fields, correlation lines of track settings, position of ground lines, surface location system, and spectrum lights, correlation lines of the Earth. Line communicate cross-line signals in a 3-line provision. Simulator comes in at 3-track provision lines of cycles. Okay? So there's always ways to look at this through all correlation line connections, guys, but it's very powerful once you understand the travel mechanism you through binaries of your simulators, how you can actually take the box out and center line is communication, a 3-waving panel. You took this out and it's here and here now through a bubble defense line. That's the correlation lines of orbiting and probing separations. You can center core line centers up lines of swing in a 3-line panel and line rotation of circles and tractions. Or you can go in positional platforms of communication at platform 1, 2, and 3 and change into correlation. Or you can change the circle lines in position of square lines of communication of units in a 3-line communication setting of travel. Or you can change the triangular lines of 0 lines and triangulation line communication of pyramids in a 3-line communication setting in spectrum. All through track lines into an atom. Okay? All right. So binary is understanding the transistor of its resistor. Okay? So let's start again. In position 0 equals lines of 1. Okay? Equals lines of box, equals lines of 0, equals lines of 0, 0. Okay, so 0 indicates the setting of 0. Okay, equal indicates what's above and what's below in traction. Okay, so the 1 equals lines of a parallel in settings. All right, the box equals lines of dockings in a 4 lines, set lines of 4. But the 1 box is its 4 of 3. See, 4 of 3. You see it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? That's 4. Right? You split it in half. Equals lines and settings of 4 equals lines of 3, right? So what is in tractions of? Box equals 43. You see the 43? 4, split the anomalies of the triangulation, 43. Box equals 43, right? So you have to understand all the ways, information, how to create the anomalies of a binary, how it goes from nothing to everything in a correlation to its setting and calculations. Through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. But it's very powerful how you see a box in triangulation, box equals 43, right? Or box, half box, see? 1 panel correlations, sets lines of communication line interference. Box equals 42. See the 4 lines of 2. See? Split in half. Box equals lines of 42. So once you understand that, it gets much easier to understand the letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. They can come all together. You guys are coming into voice line grid. So the test is based on how fast the mind of acceleration is going through its vast velocity and its volume. Okay? Vast, right? Volume, velocity, acceleration, Mach. Okay? Equals lines of 1 equals lines of GOD. Okay, that's what it's constantly doing through vast volume, velocity, acceleration of Mach. It's always in that setting of seconds, minutes, and hours in traction. Okay? So once you get into this line communication, it gets much easier to understand the box equals lines of 42 or the box equals lines of 43. And then you can reverse the cycles and set location line condition setting where you come into the retraction. Traction, retraction, traction, retraction. So everything is traction. Re this, re that. Recalculate, remodify, retriangulate, reform. Okay? Recoordinate, coordinate. right? So it's always direct, redirect, direct, redirect, okay? So let's go through line center location triangulation of 3 split lines of anomaly in a box center. 3 triple lines of correlation lines of anomaly in a box center. Okay, or 3 triangulation split lines of anomaly of flux capacitor of a box center. Or 3 waving panel correlation lines of a box center in position of 1 center. So there's always ways to equal lines of 1 equals lines of a box in position to its flux, how it coordinates its system. All through center, all through balance, and all through high line, screen line, operation, surface, and traction. Direct modification lines of signals, alpha, delta, theta communication. Direct lines in pi and tractions, direct lines of modification and clocking. Sex communication lines, clustrum, sex correlation lines, calculation lines, and direct signals of intelligence. See? All through information. How many face recognitions are there? 1 here, set location 1 here, and eye center correlation. Right? You see that track location line connections looking above? So that's looking above from below. That's looking side from below, and a 2 track location right over left and left over right. So if you look really close, you can see the mechanism line screen high interference of a GeoFO detection screen lines, adaptation line calculation setting, and a 3 waving face recognition of correlation lights and track location and provision that's coming in the eye calculation line screen interference and habitation zone correlation setting and track lines and its measure of its scales and satellites and high calculation modems and track location and provision. Mega multipass. You see the intelligence? Okay. So if you want me to add the body frame, sure, I'll add the body frame. Then you see the actual intelligence coming in interactions. There's the body. Okay. Oh, you want the arms? Okay, let's bring in the arms. Its applications. Oh, let's bring in the chest. There it is. Boom. Modification line calculation setting traction. Okay. 2 waving spectrum lights, correlation lines, and track interference. Let's go into levels. Again, in position lines. Correlation settings to its throttle, correlation lines, attractions. Intelligence over intelligence over intelligence. See the intelligence at the bottom? See? 3 central line, there's the eyes. Intelligence, intelligence, intelligence. Okay? All right. Okay, so a data processor is basically understanding how to put yourself in an alpha, delta, and theta. Okay? But it's all one singularly straight line, direct and redirect. That's all it's doing. It's not doing anything else. Okay? So if you understand basically what a spectrum light does, so it's going faster it goes, it creates, right? Then it creates this platforms, and it creates the structure of its design, right? And you see it through its graph into its X-ray Zulu in position of zebra. You see it from inside, right? You don't see it from outside. Nothing is outlined. Everything is inner space and correlation lines of traction. Okay? Everything is inner lines, a high center interference, and allocation of setting. Okay? All right, so this is all through graph calculation lines of 2 section line communication lines and of 3 waving panels and lines of lacing line communication. Right? See the traction set location? Where's the intelligence? There's the eyes looking down in a 3 spectrum light. Intelligence looking down. See? So the position of its body is this way in traction. There's its body. Boom. See? Right? And then it has its tail. Right? So what is a tunnel? It's intelligence affirmation. Hooah. Okay? Everything is affirmation of its own setting, of its own waving system, of its own binary system, of its own technology. That's that design. Okay? Being constantly aware of what a transformation is to a transformer. What is a transformer? More than meets the eye, right? Now, I like you guys to understand how this all works with your binaries because you get a better understanding to its track locations. How you add 22 line screens, set lines that equalize a volume at 8. Okay? Volume at 8. Balance correlation. Okay? You got a beamline center. two B-line rotation surface, right? Equal lines of correlation lines, let's set a box frame and a triangulation. Split lines anomaly in a 4-track location, adds lines of 43 settings. Sets communication line interference, we double bounce, right? So that's one position, and that's 2-track locations, two Bs together, right? Two balanced lines of Bs in a 4-track location provision. Sets communication lines that indicate lines of 1, 2, 3, and 4 tractions of perimeters. Sets correlation lines of 1 indicator and structures of 1 center line conditions of 4 over 3 over pi. So that indicates position of its program and its central setting correlations of platforms going in position and a 45-degree angle in line condition. Hoo-ah. Right? All through volumes of 22 equals lines of 8. Pretty amazing how you come into vast, volume, velocity, and position location and settings of vacuum. Vast velocity, that's the location of volume, vacuum, right? Vacuum is lines of vast that sets velocity in position to its calculations. Now that correlates to correlation and traction interference, puts all communication setting to your clocking system of one cycle on traction. Cross-line signals sets communication to its position of programs. Center core line setting, high calculation. Direct lines of platforms. We're always going to have platforms because you're always crossing line calculation setting travel. Avatars here and track locations in line position. Done 4 line signals, right? But it comes back to the sun and the moon in track location. Okay. Now sets up sonar, wave and line cycles of pi, tractions, right? XT1000 comes out, sets lines of grounds, sets lines of powers, and sets lines of new energy line center location and position of space in a 3-track provision, right? So the more you coordinate, the more you go through remote, the more it gets easier when you go through travel, mechanism, line connection settings. All levels of platform communications, right? So there's all communications start with. You start with communications of grounds, in position locations and travel, levitation, okay, and flying, okay? That is what the avatar goes through in a 3-track lines. It's the mind, the heart, and the soul. The body is the receiver. The body is the receiver, okay? The body is its receiver, okay? Sets lines of satellites, communications, modem lines, moon lines, sun line, rotation surface, kaleidoscope communication, right? So if this is the body and this is your avatar, okay? It's going back and forth in tractions. That's what it's doing, going back and forth in traction, okay? So it's about understanding adaptability where the body has to zigzag in position to merge into its avatar setting through map. From here to here to get to there, right? Through sun lines, correlation lines, and track interference, into moon lines, surface correlations, and their calculations. Platforms of communication line setting, binary reset position of relays, or anything in program locations. Let's go through 24 line cycles, generate the communication lines of binary. Let's go through box frame. Now we're going to go through 1 position, 2 position, and 4 lines of 6. So this is what it looks like. Now it gets more complicated when the binary gets to higher line condition and voice and lines. 1, 2, 4, and 6. But what happened to the 1, 2, 3, 4? See, it's not out of order because I know exactly what I'm doing through the 1 signal and a 2-track position to a 4 setting. Travel, right? 1 setting, 2 setting, 4 setting, 6 setting, 8 setting. Platform communication through a 24 signal in a 1 position of 1, 4, 6, 8 line condition. Or 6 platform equals lines of 8, 4 equals lines of 1/5, sets lines of 1 generation of screen lines in position to a solar sail going back and track locations back in time. Boom, back in time. So that platforms go backwards in setting correlation. Right? You set the communication lines of the perimeters, line condition setting, open the class of correlation setting to its wormhole and track locations going back in set location. Okay? So it's pretty powerful what a binary can do through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. So it doesn't have to be in order at all the time because it's always in order. Box lines and highest interference of 3. Okay? 3 indicates lines of box. 4 platform communication lines of 12, 12,000, 18,000, and 21 million in set locations through a box frame in a triangulation split of anomaly to cross-line signal. Cross-line flux capacitor location. What have we got there? Satellite, right? Box frames, correlation line interference. One graph, box its frame, right? 3 zeros of correlation lines, box, box, box. Triangulation of sonar. 3 correlation lines, high interference, 18,000. 1, 2, 3, track location, 4 line settings of sonar. Communication line, high interference, 1 box frame, triangulation frame, direct signals. Combined line connection steady percentage, sets communication lines, all levels of question and track location, direct modification. So I'm taking the binaries into letters, numbers, shapes, and I create it through a narrative, a story, in a formula of equation, all through a box frame in a 4-panel correlation setting, in percentage, in correlation of question, in location of 3 lines, in calculation of 12,000, 18,000, and track location of 21 million track locations, all through box frame. Okay, so this is this, the formula equation. Okay, so there's so many different ways to do a binary. Okay, look how powerful that is. Right, and you know you're traveling through it. As long as you're traveling through it, you're going through the solar sails. It's incredible when you come into that force. Right, if you're traveling through it, what's happening? You're not seeing anything. Right? So it's a bat that can't see. Right? In position location. So this is how it is in track location where it comes into a glitch or anything, the Mandela effects or anything correlations to abstractions. When you see a bat, you're seeing it upside down, right? But they see you right side up. Right? So they're in position where they are in tractions. For you to understand them, your head has to be turned upside down. That's the only way you can understand their volume. That's the only way you can understand their vast. That's the only way you can understand their involvement. How they're in their own setting of their own binary, how they come into their own habitation zone, and how they see things in direct signals in calculation system of direct and redirect and set location, all through radar. Okay? So there's so many ways of looking at this through spectrums of light, of colorations of pathogens. I've showed you so many ways how it comes in that setting. Okay, all through equalized correlations lines of equilibrium, balanced correlation lines of track locations of platforms of communication. All right. It's fascinating giving you guys a formula equation. At least you're getting a better understanding how to get into the calculation, what's expected of you in track location. Not me, what's expected of you, what you already know. It's the memory of its graph in a mapping sequence that's already in line connection setting that's already in process. It's a map, right? So you're here, and your position location is here, right? Avatar, you, right? Follow the signal, follow the breadcrumbs, 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 follow the breadcrumbs. So the avatar doesn't move, you move. So in that position, what is the avatar doing? Using the mind through detection. You get the signal receiving, right? Then you move on to the next one. Oh, that's pi. Oh, you got another one. Oh, that's pi. Set location. Oh, that's pi. Set location. Oh, that's pi. Set location. Oh, that's pi. And everything becomes pi in set location. Okay, that's a process you all are coming into. Okay, so basically, it's all through telepathy, right? Now, if you understand that in track location, everything's done, right? So if everything's done in line position location, it's only the mind that's moving itself. Everything's in platitude. So the mind itself is the operation of itself that's created all communications to its nothing of itself. So 0 equals nothing. Nothing equals everything. And everything is mass equals all levels. And 0 equals lines of 0 equals lines of 0. So you're always in a 0 track location of nothing, which is memory equals everything. Mass of no memory. Okay, no memory. Okay, to all memory, all at once. And one signal and one rotation and one face recognition of time sequence. Okay, that's all it is. So coordinate through that is all about understanding measure and scale and balance and its intelligence, how it formulates everything in position locations, basically understanding these things where you guys have never created anything. You never got any correlation to anything correlation setting. Everything's coming back to you. So when you touch these things, you're coming back in its frame of your own technology through its memory of itself to understand you are all formations of you through your own system and calculations, right? So when I touch the digital pad, it's the pad that's giving me the information. It's the pad that's giving me the coordinates. It's the pads that's giving me all. But see, it's an energy collaboration from a 4-waving cycle and a 3-set location. Remember I said about box frame and a 3 triangulation line, how a box frame and triangulation equals lines of 40 to 43? This is 43. Split lines anomaly, there it is, 43. You see? This is the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Dockings, right? Split that in half, what do you got? Equals lines 43. Woo! See how that works? I don't have to create a box frame, but I'm just showing you through a digital pad up. The pad itself is showing you what it can do of its own system, of its own operation, of its nothingness, of its awareness, unconscious location to its identity, of its own self-modification. Self-modification, guys, the modules. Anything their own simulator. Very powerful stuff. 4 lines of 3, right there. Let's add 2 triangulation, 2 atom line rotation. Oh, let's add a center line communication line and flywheel communication setting. Whoa! Let's add platform communication lines, a 4-track location line, position location calculation. Whoa! Let's add communication lines, energy line. Whoa! Let's add a rainbow graph communication. Whoa! Let's location line grid. Whoa! All through traction. All through revision. All through face recognition. See the face? Done by equation. Clustrum. Everything is a formation of intelligence. Because you're always putting yourself there in the center operation. You're always in the center. You don't leave anywhere. You stay where you are. You're the center. Just expanding. Okay? Body. Okay? Avatar. This and this comes together. Once it symbolizes the track location of provision, it comes in line connections. Once I understand that, it comes in its flywheel traction. Once I understand that, it comes in its 6 and 9. And it's that location of balance. Now, once I understand that, it comes together. It merges together in one whole. Then it comes in its platforms to all lines of its highways and all track line provision and all correlation line connections in any way and form interactions, and all lines of high center interference, and all communication to its system, all calculation, modification, setting, inter data highways, omni highways, and narrow links in this application, your all calculation system, your set calculations. Look how powerful that is. Okay? So I've just shown you how basically how a digital pad can give you information just by a line signal. There's 43. You're saying, how does that equals 43, right? Well, let's start again. Rectangle, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Split the anomaly, right? So the digital pad is showing you exactly how it comes in a 4-box frame in a triangulation, split lines of anomaly to 43, equals lines of 43, number 43. Oh my gosh. Look how powerful that is. All through its intelligence, all through its information, all through its awareness, all through its consciousness, and back into its nothingness. That's set design. All right. Now, if I split lines anomaly, interact line condition setting, what is that? Oh my gosh, it equals 42. How does it equal 42? Well, here we go again. Splits lines anomaly, sets lines of 1, 2, do it on a different line pattern, binary, sets communication line settings, right? Sets communication equals lines of 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Now, if I want to add a center line, that sets position of center correlation. Now, if I want to add a circuitory line, that sets communication lines of center correlation. So this is this. It's the same way. Just different binary, different frequency, different intelligence, different awareness, different consciousness. But what is it doing? Traveling. Okay. If I do this, this does this. So it follows up, right? If I do this, this does this. Oh, so this is the same as that. But it still equals lines of 42. Right? Now, if I want to add waving line cycles, I add arrow indicators. Changes communication lines of its binary, change communication position. I change the pencil line. Tracking lines of provision, line condition setting, right? So indicates lines of 1 and position of 2. Oh, so this is now this, a 42. 42 is in confirmation setting. It's in correlation, it's in collaboration now. Oh, wow, look at that. It's amazing, right? So if I go to the center line condition setting, it travels. Now I just circle line the 42. Oh, so this is this, and this is this, and this is this. So we get a 3 triangulation line communication line interference, high calculation line calculation setting equals lines of 42 in tracking. Pyramid equals lines of 42. Woo! Oh, 2's gone. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It changed line center line interference. It set position location of 42, and now it's lines of Z line rotation of 6. Changed all lines communication line and position all communication center position of its program. So I'm just showing exactly how powerful it is, how everything comes in information of its own binary, of its own intelligence, of its own nothingness, of its awareness, constant location setting to its own operation system, all through traction. Woo! Right? Isn't that amazing? And again, phase recognition. Whoa. Right? So add that equation, that equation. Add signals, flux capacitor. So this is this and this. So if you really understand what's going on, this has changed, now this has changed on its own. See the flux? I didn't put that there. It was by itself. It said, listen, I want to join in. That's not fair. This is not in position locations. I'm in a triangulation line condition set. I want to join the fun. Right? I did this did it by itself. Flux capacitor correlation tractions. Now we're in an equal line of 3-line triangulation into a molecule. Oh, 4 equals lines of 3, communication lines of triangulate and position location program. Whoa, 4 equals lines of 3 equals 7. Hoo-ah. Done by equation. So I'm showing you how things go on by itself. It watches, it sees, it does everything through its own system of recording. It's at location. It's at location, people. All right? So there's so many ways of looking at how equals lines of 43. They say, well, no, that's just a line. No, it's not a line. It's a box frame triangulation line condition that equals lines of 43. All right? Cross-line signals. Oh, what just happened? Right? So what we do in line condition setting, we cross the 3. You see? See the single line communications? Sets correlated line interference, negative lines of 1, negative lines of 1, and negative lines of 1. 3! 3 indicates line calculation line height interference. 0 location, line center location, negative underscore the lines of 3. Track lease line condition setting equals lines of 7. Okay? You see that in formulas, equations, and settings, right? When it crosses symbolism, right? If you cross the 3 out, right? What does that do in tractions, right? Back force lines communication to its position. All levels of force line communication setting and traction. Okay, says communication. All line of communication setting to travel. Woo! All through 3. Crossing out, right? Symbolism, cross-line signals, modification platforms, 1, 2, 3, 4-line signals, sets communication position of programs. Oh, we got indicate line, cross-line, center interference, flux capacitor communication of 4-line position of travel, correlation lines of traction. Oh, sets communication line interference, of center communication line interference, of platform communication line site setting to travel. Oh, the location lines of 1 signal, 2 signal, 3 signal, 4 signal, 5 signal, 6 signal, 7, 8 in the line communication setting. Whoa, look at that. Wow. See the face? Amazing, right? Here's the clustrum. Okay. Understand now how powerful you are in line communication, what you can do through your voice and grid line communication structure of design line connects to its position of its program, all through equations or anything a formula of equation line connects setting to its position of traction. All right, so really get into that indication. Okay, process communication is really a standard attractions, right? There's so many ways to do formula equations. As long as you're traveling, you're doing fine. But if you're not traveling, if you go for the 4-line setting, equals lines of 3, equals lines of 7, equals of 7. 43, right? So that's four settings, box frame, and a 4-line split lines of anomaly, right? So that's box equals lines of 43, right? So this is indicated as this in set location, but how does it come in as 7? Where's the 7? Where's the 7? Add correlation lines, calculation, triangulation. 1, 2, 3. 4 lines of 3. There's the 7 on top location. Right? And then 7 equals lines of its pyramid and triangulation. 7 equals triangulation. 7 equals pyramid. 7 equals line setting. And a line setting, line position. Let's go through these locations. Let's go through this line connections, all through process. Look at that. Sets communication lines of 3. Sets communication lines of 4 setting. Set lines of 7. Sets lines of 4 triangulation of the position. Sets lines of 1, 2, 3, and 4, and line setting of crop circles in set location. And again, face recognition, right? Face recognition. See the face? See the face? There's the brain in track location. Okay? Cloud lines, screen lines, adaptation lines, and certification, eye cloud correlation, set interactions. There's the brain. There's the face. There's the eyes. There's the nose. There is the cluster. Okay? So it's very important how to set up your line calculation, setting colorations of spectrums all through track location. Okay? Because you're constantly using the lines of inventory. And that's what it is, the test review and evaluation is. How to take the 26,000 letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, and coordinate through its own lines of GOD, change the rhythm pattern, change the core track line interference, change your behavior line communication of this pattern in the line communication setting, find a way to get in a 25 signal, 11 line triangulation. Where's the 11 line triangulation? Right? Triangulation lines of 1, 2, and 3 in center. Sets communication lines of 2 triangulation lines of provision. Sets correlation lines of 25 lines of a door. So 2 lines of tractions above, 5 line triangulation and on line center high interference, and 5 line communication indicates 1/5 over line in set location. Okay? And if you look really close, you can see intelligence. There's the eye. There's the clustrum. Okay? Sets communication. There's the eye track location looking at you. Oh my God, look what it is. Right? You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Right? Let's put him on with a smile. Yay! Changes everything to formula equation. I just like to have fun with you guys. All right, so it's amazing how you do formulas equation. It just helps you know ways and forms of attractions, right? So we're still at 25 equals lines of interference. Now we have 2 panels in 1 setting. Sets lines of 3 track line provisions. Sets lines of 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Right? Sets lines of 3. Sets lines of 6, 9, and set location. All right, so we take the 3 traction, 3 division, and 3 correlation lines and solar sail and track location. So you guys have to learn how to use color spectrums into wormhole, into black hole, into dark realm. You've got to get into the settings and how to travel through all levels of spectrum, correlation, line connecting setting to understand the process, how this all works in travel and communication. Okay? So it's important to understand how this all works in line setting, location, and setting, the face recognition. Okay? It's amazing when you start understanding how to identify that through box and triangulation frame and calculation, right? So it's all about understanding how to coordinate that lines of 26, 26, 26, 26, right? 26. So it's really easy. 26 equals lines of correlation lines, XT1000 equals lines of 4, right? That's provision lines of cycles in one pattern, one rotation surface, 2 triangulation lines setting, split lines of 6, 6 lines of communication, 6 lines of position, location, data process, correlates setting, 2 track division of center correlates calculation lines of travel, points lines of graph communication lines center in high calculation. Right? So that's provision lines of calculation of what? 4 weather patterns equals lines of 26,000 in all calculation setting of 4 track division. Inline connection equals lines of 3 of 7. There it is. Boom. That's the test. See, everything is a modification of travel, right? Right? Light signals, correlation to ground lines, towers, communication, sonar communication through triangulation. So it's like this, looking at you halfway, right? So it's like, that's what it is. So it's looking at you, right? It's got its face. Boom. Tractation clustrum. Boom. Traveling too fast. There it is. There's a clustrum. There's the face. Boom. Everything's a face. Your face is you. Stamp preceded in position of protocol. Everything in correlation line calculation setting puts everything in track locations and what you do with your location. Right? Have fun with it through the inner child. Okay, that's the test. Boom. 26,000 letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, all through a face recognition. Right? Howdy. Greetings. Okay? That's it. We're done. Everybody have fun? So if I understand, or are we all confused? So it's amazing how it can take 107, 0 lines of 6 or 7 line positions, take 23 lines of volume and lines of 11 and turn it in a face. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So what am I coordinating through? Communicating with other face recognitions, especially in line condition setting through a box frame in a triangulation split lines of anomaly track location. So that's communication line signals set location. Cross line signals. What is that? What is that? Cross equals lines of box. Now, where's the box? The box itself is the digital pad. And then the box equals lines of 1. Where's the 1? Center location. Okay? You see how easy that is? Right? You see how easy that is? And then you add a platform, right? So that equals lines of spectrum. Okay, this is this now, right? So this is working with this. If I do this line shift in a 3 triangulation split lines of anomaly, sets lines of communication line calculating setting, sets communication 3 weather patterns and bottom location, right? Because it's 3 triangulation, 3 triangulation, 3 triangulation, but at a different line formation. So intelligence is looking at intelligence. And its intelligence is the 3 waving panel, 4 line track lines, the high calculation. What do we mean? Platform 1, 2, and 3, and 4 sets line communication setting and trial point lines of graph communication. Trial calculation lines, dimensional lines, scale lines, balance, position of pi, correlation lines, dimensional lines, scales, position of balance, communication lines, calculation. Dimensional door, right? Comes back in signal, sets modification, and 4 triangulation. Platform communication, vortex, back in the platform. Right? So in that position, I time jumped, right? XT1000 comes in. What's going on here? Position locations. What's all that noise? Right? Scans you right away. Identification, energy field. Energy field goes up. XT1000 out through equation. Takes off because it's you. Right? If it doesn't identify you and doesn't understand you, it stays there. When we bring in another buddy, hey, there's another XT1000. What's going on? Right? Doesn't understand you more. Oh, there's another XT1000 coming in. Oh, doesn't understand you. Another 4 line communication comes in. Right? So now you have to really understand how this all works. Okay. Once you understand your binaries, you really understand the mind of space now, because it's all lines of communication of travel, all through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, creating an inventory. Okay, so what you're doing is you're creating a tunnel of defense line, screen location, deviation location, fragmentation line calculation, setting a correlation. Pattern lines, tunnel line, defense lines, screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. That's all it is. What I just said is this. That's exactly what it is. I don't need the letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols because it's already there. Okay, I can show you in that position locations, but that's a binary right there. That is a binary through all levels of calculation, right? So its modification lines of 6, 9 equals lines of correlation. That's 12 million cycles equals line of correlation lines and seconds, minutes, and hours. And it's got 1 hour frame in a box frame and a triangulation line. You always have to have 7. It's a box frame and a 3 center correlation. So 43 in the center, flux capacitor into center position location, and a 3-line calculation setting in 1 set location. Sets communication graph line center, binary 1, 2, and 2 lines of track location. Sets communication lines of highest center interference, past, present, and future correlation. Center core line interference, time stamps, time calculation, time center line rotation surface. Puts position line and track lines, clustrum, communication lines, flux capacitor, face recognition. Okay. Okay. You're always going to see a face in everything that you do because you're protecting yourself from everything of itself, guys. Okay. It's very powerful once you understand how to use your inventories. And it's kind of like putting a link of a chain of a cobweb, and it goes in one direction. So it follows up in this setting. So it's kind of like when the team comes into school, this is what it is. Start here. It's a link of chain. Okay, you guys are at certain levels in position of frequencies, but it's all one continuous line. Okay, that's the team. All at different levels, but it's one continuous line. One fall is out. It's like domino effect. One falls, all fall. Right? Right? But look what it created. Created intelligence. See? Intelligence. See? Intelligence. Oh, what do we got here? Oh my gosh, it looks like the Earth. It's the Earth. Look at that. So what's going on through point track line, center high interference line, and Earth line rotation, surface track communication with systems, location, setting, correlation, and coordinates. That's the Earth, and the team's on a different point lines of track, location, setting, and docking. There's the Earth, and there's the team. Ah! See how that works? You don't see it like this. You see it like that. Okay? Now, if you look really close, you can see general. See, there's my eye looking at you guys. There's my face. There's my eye looking at you guys. That's me, right? Okay, so let's track division lines of cycles. Where they track interference. So it's communications. Let's bring in the eye center. Okay, now you can see general. Let's bring in the eyebrows. Hey, there's general. Okay, see it now? Okay, in a different direction now. See? It's amazing how you're looking at a 4-wave spinnacle cycle, communication center, interference, trap point, graph calculations. Oh, look at that. We got an elephant. Oh, there's an elephant. Look at the line position location of the trunk. Oh my gosh, this is exciting. Look at that. Oh, what do we got there? It looks like a monkey. Ooh, look at that. There's a monkey there. See the monkey? Oh, now we got a girl. All right, see the girl? See the long hair? Ooh, look at that. Look how many frame communication and face recognition, time sequence location, all lines, high interference into Earth perception location of the team and set location of travel. Look at that. All right. Isn't that amazing? So, understanding what you're doing is understanding what you're already knowing. That puts you in a better position, location, attractions, and all calculate and modify in its Earth line, of its team line, and how you guys communicate in set position. Okay? And when you're communicating, you communicate with sonar. Satellites, modems, line communication. Sun's on standby, moon's on standby. Always, 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 right? So coordinate, 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 communicate, sonar, interception, correlation lines, intercon, communications, and travel. All through the Earth. Okay? Isn't that amazing? What you guys do on a daily basis in a track division. Oh, we got another intelligence. Look at that. Intelligence. 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 How many intelligence is in that frame? How many intelligence is in that frame on top of me? Okay. 0 is there too. All formations there. All formations there in real time. All through correlation. All through mind of travel. Okay. All right. See you in 5.